As you see on my tag, my name is Ayano Chule, and I'm a reverend by ordination, and I am working with ANARELA. ANARELA means or stands for the African Network of Religious Leaders living with or personally affected by HIV/AIDS, and it means people in ANARELA are all religious leaders of different faiths. And it also means that people who are in ANARELA members are either HIV positive or personally affected by HIV/AIDS. So ANARELA is standing as religious leaders to fight stigma on behalf of those who cannot speak in their sick beds, on behalf of those who cannot pray to God with their voices because they are already in a medically weak situation. So fighting stigma involves advocating for quality of life for them, access of treatment, protection of their human rights, so that if any person from a family or member dies, the inheritance situation should not be rejected and all those things. So ANARELA is in another way probably a human rights organization, but since we are religious leaders, we call ourselves positive religious leaders. We are helping people to accept their situations, especially when we narrow it to HIV issue. We are saying that HIV is real and it is there in the church or the mosque. Having said that, we also encourage people who are positive to accept that reality as a biological fact. Accepting somebody's HIV status is more beneficial for the person than denying it. So we are encouraging people by the words of our own mouth testimony that people who are positive and do not believe that they may be positive may see us and rethink that it is true. So capacity building can be by giving lectures, but most part of it we do it openly, freely and frankly in the church by breaking the silence surrounding HIV and AIDS. I was baptized as a Lutheran believer, so I grew in the faith, not deeply in the faith, but I'm growing deep into the faith when I now became HIV positive and I lost my wife. So I was like any other Christian. I am a pastor, I'm a teacher of theology, but the faith, the reality of my faith, the test of my faith and how much faith can contribute to success or failure, I noticed it during the crisis of my family, which is still lingering around me. So faith in this regard means trusting God in every situation. I listened to a sermon by Bishop T.D. Jacob, he's an American preacher, and he called the congregation for testimonies. So everybody testified success, getting a new baby boy, a new car, promotion, and all those. So the bishop said, this is not a testimony. For God's sake, there is nobody who buried a friend or so on. Is it only to testify the good things of what? So unless we testify the bad things which happen to us and still trust God, that faith is not a faith. It is a fake faith which may fail when things which we are not happy about do not appear. So my faith was really shaped as when my wife died, when my child died, and it is likely I may die. It grew stronger than when everybody was fine in the house. I was a teacher of theology before I came to ANARELA. Uh, by the time my wife died is when I saw a new vision of work. No, I didn't see any vision. It is, I don't know what to do after the death of my wife. Because if I teach in the class in the church's institution, my teaching will be not weighty because everybody will be gossiping after me that. So it is difficult for me to be a teacher in front of people who do not agree that there is HIV in the church. So I think it is God's own way of doing things because He knows the future from the beginning. So it is when Gideon Biamugisha, the canon of the Church of Uganda, met me that he shared the vision he has and along with others, and at the end of the day in 2003 I agreed to join ANARELA because ANARELA speaks about its own members' story. We do not talk about anybody so that nobody will be embarrassed. We are speaking about ourselves. And our stories are not actually good. They are bad stories, but they are realities. They are things which actually happened. So whether people like it or not, I lost a beautiful wife who is a Christian. I married in a Christian home. I married in the church. And I'm HIV positive. In my culture, where I was born, in Konso, in Ethiopia, not even Christians, when somebody dies, you take the body to the graveyard, you put the body in the graveyard, you come back as a community to the person's house. But when my wife died, the church from which she died is entertaining about 5,000 believers. I don't want to mention where the church is and which church it is, but it is a big church and I'm an assistant priest for that cathedral. So when my wife died, quite all right, everybody went to the grave, but nobody from that church, including my senior priest, came back to my house from which my wife's corpse. It happened to me and it can happen to anybody, or it has happened to many. And telling these stories reveals to us, all of us, the degree to which even Christians have failed in the work of stewardship for human life. So it affects humanity, means it affects human right. Somebody's isolation from a community of believers means his right of being in the community of believers has been, denied. So even if the church doesn't live by the law or the constitutions of governments, it rather violates human rights unknowingly, which can affect God's feeling. So these are the things which happen to many, but I must tell because it may help others, or it may help, the churches to repent. It is the teaching of the scriptures. God cares for us. Even when Adam and Eve failed, disobeyed him in the garden, he had to look for them because he's not happy that they have failed, but yet he has to protect them from things which will go beyond their bearing. He came down, looked for them. The church should look for the marginalized. The church should visit the sick. The church should stand firm against policies and laws which violate human rights. The church should protect the powerless, and the church should resist injustices, unjust distribution of resources, The church should fight against policies which undermine the dignity of women and children and all human beings and all those things. The church should fight for the sexual minorities, which we call homosexuals, and they are human beings. The church should fight for lesbians. They are human beings. In as far as human beings are there, the church must be an avenue for refuge, for security, for comfort, for condolation. Then, when the church is able to embrace everybody as human being, evangelism comes in. If anybody sends a pastor or an evangelist to preach and make him come to the Lord. So it is imperatively the primary mission of the church to bring people into full dignity